What's up and welcome to FPL Today. I'm your host JNL. Welcome to the channel and welcome to another episode of World Cup preview where we look at the group stages, each group individually, and try and pick out the best players and also figure out which teams could potentially go through. This episode is focused on Group E, which should be an interesting one. But before we get into this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell if fantasy football is something you want in your subscription box. And also go and check out the FPL Wildcats YouTube channel where I will be streaming hopefully semi-regularly with other content creators, and there should be clips coming up with advice on fantasy football for the World Cup and FPL on that channel as well. If we could get that channel over 100 subscribers in the next 2 to 3 days, that would be fantastic and show what Team Flock the FPL Today family is capable of. Anyway, let's get into this episode, and we are looking at Group E, which has the likes of Serbia, Costa Rica, Switzerland, and one of the favourites, Brazil. And we're going to start off with Serbia, who qualified from a competitive group in the #1 spot, beating the likes of Republic of Ireland, Wales and Austria to the top of the table. However, they have regularly been in World Cups but not got out the group stages since 1998 and have missed the last 3 World Cups. So there is a bit of hope behind Serbia, but not a great record in the World Cup recently. Also, despite coming top of their qualifying group, the manager was sacked because their system was deemed too defensive, and a new manager has been put in charge but has no coaching experience and is still in charge leading into the World Cup, which is a surprise that someone with so little experience has been given the role. Serbia also have numerous top experienced players from top leagues around the world. They definitely have some standout players in that side, but as far as who I think could score some points, one of them is someone that has a point to prove, and his name is Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. Hopefully I've said that right. But he has been out of the national team picture for a while now during qualifying because the manager at the time didn't deem him to fit the style of play that Serbia had. But now with the new manager, Savic is potentially going to start in this World Cup, could have a good run, and has had a great season in the Calcio A recently. With 33 appearances, 12 goals, 3 assists, shots per game at 2.6 and an average rating at 7.39. He could have a big World Cup as he tries to prove a point that he should never have been out of the international picture with Serbia anyway. And then we also have a player that you guys should be familiar with. It's Mitrovic, who used to play for Newcastle, then moved to Fulham in the Championship. Yes, he didn't do great in the Premier League. However, his record for Serbia is good. He's got 18 appearances this season at Fulham, 12 goals, 1 assist, with shots per game at 4.1 shots per game, an average rating of 7.52. And in the World Cup qualifyings, he scored 6 goals for Serbia. So he could definitely be a cheap differential for your fantasy football teams in the World Cup. But we'll move on to the team that a lot of people are excited about. A lot of people will want to watch in the World Cup. And a lot of people will be looking at some of their star players to get big returns for them in fantasy football. And that team is Brazil, with 12 wins, 5 draws and 1 loss in the CONMEBOL qualifying. They did top the table with some incredible sides like, of course, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Chile, Peru. All those sides, Brazil walked their way to the World Cup yet again. They have a great history at the World Cup, of course. Their record in qualifying speaks for itself with 41 goals, scored 11, conceded 10 clean sheets out of 18 games. So that is a great record. 5-time winners of the Cup, regulars in it. Brazil are one of the favourites and have a point to prove after World Cup 2014 in their home country, where they did have that embarrassing 7-1 defeat to Germany. They finished 10 points clear of their closest rival in the CONMEBOL qualifying, Uruguay, 10 points clear of them. They could be one of the most exciting teams to watch in the World Cup and score plenty of fantasy points. Their defence has players that could also score big, of course, roaming fullbacks that will get forward and have the potential to get clean sheets on top of that. Only issue is starman Neymar picked up an injury recently, which means he may not be at his best, but he has been playing in friendlies and has been scoring in these friendlies, so that shouldn't be too much of a worry now. There is a little bit of a worry about the mentality of the Brazil side at certain times, but there's hope behind this team going into this World Cup. Now, of course, I could point out Neymar as the player to look at, and of course, if you're wanting Brazil coverage, Neymar probably is the most sensible option. However, when I was doing the stats, Neymar was a doubt whether he was going to be fully fit. He's kind of laid those fears to rest. However, the players I'm looking at for this episode, and I'm not by any means saying ignore Neymar, do not do that. Do that at your own peril, in fact. But players I'm looking at: Philippe Coutinho, 16 appearances for Barcelona, 8 goals, 5 assists, shots per game at 2.1, average rating of 7.66. He's of course moved to Barcelona from Liverpool, missing out on a Champions League final because of that move. He may just want to prove that he has made a good decision in his career and want to kind of step out the shadow of some of the other Brazilians, so he may put on a good performance in this World Cup. And Gabriel Jesus, most likely to start games and lead the line, but of course there is competition with Roberto Firmino. He's had 19 appearances for Man City this season, 13 goals, 3 assists, shots per game at 1.9 and an average rating at 7.05. However, in World Cup qualifyings, and this is why we're looking at him, he did get 7 goals for Brazil, so he could be a cheaper option than Neymar if you don't want to spend that much cash. We then look at Switzerland in this group, who are very unlucky not to finish top of their group, actually finishing on the same amount of points as Portugal, but lost on goal difference with a record of 9 wins and 1 loss. They scored 23 goals, conceded 7 and got 6 clean sheets. Switzerland then in the playoffs went to beat Northern Ireland to qualify. However, as far as goal scorers, 14 different players scored, with only Haris Seferovic, that's probably the best I'm going to say that, scoring 4. Shaqiri is likely to want to put himself in the shop window, as he is of course at a club that have been relegated this season, whilst Xhaka and Seferovic, why did I point him out, seems to be a different player for country than they are for their club, so could be very important in this Switzerland side. The player I'm of course going to look at is Xherdan Shaqiri, because I believe he had a decent season despite Stoke getting relegated and will want to secure himself that move to another club. 36 appearances for a side that got relegated, getting 8 goals and 7 assists with shots per game at 1.9 and an average rating of 6.87. In context of the team he was playing for, those are some impressive stats, and he could potentially do well at this World Cup. And then finally we have Costa Rica, who qualified for this competition with 9 wins, 5 draws and 2 losses. Goals for 25, whereas goals against was 11, and getting 7 clean sheets in the process. Not many will be expecting Costa Rica to qualify from this group, however, despite their heroics in the World Cup in 2014. What they do have is a world-class goalkeeper in Keylor Navas, so if your goalkeepers can get save points with not the strongest defence in front of them in a group where shots will be taken on goal, potentially Navas could get enough save points to counterbalance the fact that he's unlikely to get clean sheets. However, the other stars for this team, players like Brian Ruiz and Joel Campbell, have seen losses of form or injuries affect their progress as far as form goes into this tournament. With stars not firing on all cylinders going into this and with no clear momentum, there aren't many players I could suggest from this side, the only one being really Keylor Navas, and of course there's a potential he concedes a lot, which will counterbalance any saves he gets, so I'm not going to be recommending a player from Costa Rica. And as for the estimated group finish, I think Brazil should quite easily get top spot in this one. If they don't, they're going to be very disappointed. And then for me, it's between Switzerland and Serbia for second place. I do actually like the players in Serbia's side more, but I think Switzerland were just more consistent in their qualifying for the World Cup and potentially could be just the more consistent side, which will see them get second place. Serbia could of course grab it themselves, but I'm putting them in third. And then I'm imagining Costa Rica will be fourth. But to be honest, Costa Rica probably were considered to be underdogs in World Cup 2014 and still managed to get out of their groups. But that is the ranking I would put the 4 teams in if I had to guess their finish. Fingers crossed I'm not too wrong. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode as always. If you've enjoyed it and you think it's been helpful, consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're notified when my videos go up on the channel and when I also live stream. Also, go check out the FPL Wildcats YouTube channel. I'm trying to get a push of you guys to go over there to push them over 100 subscribers. If we could do that in the next 2 to 3 days, that would be fantastic. So go show them what Team Flop can do. There's also other links in the description down below if you want to support this channel specifically, and the World Cup official fantasy football game should be out on June the 7th, and we'll hopefully get some live streams as soon as that goes live. With all that being said, I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.